Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I decided to do a sort of fairly British looking pub. It was actually because on my way to work there's this pub which I kept going past and it just is so stereotypically British that I thought I need one of these in my game, because whilst Windenburg is lovely and everything, it has a bit more Victorian feel, and we do have a different styles of pubs which all look a bit sort of I can't think of the word really, dated at times, but also modern. It's a bit of a strange mix. You've got your bathrooms in the most unlikely and weirdest places. So this is actually based off one down in Devon known as the Crown. I did have to end up looking it up online because I was trying to do it from memory and realised I had no real clue. So we've sort of started off going with this style. I was having a think of a thatch roof, as you can see on top, but I do eventually change that. And the reason I've done the two white walls at the end is because whilst the actual building does have one white wall and the rest brick on the outside, because of how The Sims works with its roofs and that, and when you paint them, the walls that show and it does both ends, I sort of had to go with that. So quite often you'll find that a British pub, you'll have like an entranceway, so you'll have a little bit where you can actually walk in, stand, and then you have the door into the building, so you can essentially like walk in, get out of the rain, and then walk into the building, and you're not letting in the cold air if all you want to do is stand. Sims was having a bit of trouble with this because obviously you have to have it in a certain place, but I do eventually change how I'm doing this. So yeah, house needs to be a bit bigger because I realised I needed a 3 length, but then I do also then change this back to 2. So I'm not doing a particularly great start. So this is going to be my entranceway. At the moment, I've just put the door on the outside, but I do realise that this is completely wrong shortly. And I'm trying to do the windows, again, trying to do it all from memory. And quite often you'll end up having sort of mismatching windows. So I wanted to have that sort of style, but again, it wasn't quite right. The plot I've chosen is in Windenburg. It's along one of the little country lanes, which I quite liked. So this is where I actually look at the pictures online and have those ready. And I'm just completely like changing what I'm doing entirely because I've realised that actually I'm completely messing it up. This is because the little box on the side, sometimes you get little bits of wall which are slightly stickier out here. But it's not quite a whole wall, so it doesn't entirely work. So I decided I just would sort of show that partition, but in a slightly different way later on. And what I'm doing now is I'm working on this little passageway I was talking about, the little opening. I thought about, because none of the pillars that they have quite are what I wanted. I wanted a complete stone ones which would go with the brick which I've used. Nothing was quite there, so I tried to actually create them using the wall tool. Wasn't happening, so I've gone with something which sort of works. I made it match the roof instead, so it still looks in keeping without actually having exactly what I wanted. So this is where I'm putting on my roof and having to fix it. So that's fairly stereotypical for what you would find. You know, you could just walk underneath the covering regardless, and in a minute I do realise that I've still got the whole opening where the wall is, and I should probably fill that in. That's where I figured out I can lift the house up and down because I've not played with the new terrain tools yet. And I'm looking for windows. Now they have curved windows, but I don't have any which are close enough in resemblance. I don't have all the stuff packs and all the game packs. I have all the expansions. So these were the windows which were sort of closest to what's actually there. I've never actually been in this pub. I don't actually know if it's any good, but the style is very British, which is what I was going for more than anything. As we go through, I'm still struggling with these windows a little bit. When you go into British pubs, quite often, well, you could see that they're a pub pretty much instantly. There's just a look about them, and whilst it's hard to do in The Sims, they normally have a drinking area for locals, so where they go in a lot of the time. And then also you'll have a assortment of eating areas. Now these can be separate, or oftentimes they'll actually be in the same area and sort of all get intermingled all over the place. It's one of the, I suppose, charms of a British pub. It is a little bit crazy and all over the place. It basically looks a bit like someone's had a house and gone, you know what, we'll leave that wall there, but we're going to get rid of that wall, and we're going to put this carpet here, but we're going to put a different flooring here, and then we're going to put, you know, some seating here and here and here, but there's not really got that much seating, and we can't really get around it all that easily, so we're going to have to like shimmy in pretty much a British pub. So this one had some chimneys. The problem with these is they were all quite tall. I wanted something a bit shorter. They're a little yeah. This is when I remembered I can shrink things. So I think I went with shrinking because they were just a better height. And yeah, some of them are just so tall. If you want it on the apex of the roof, you don't want it sticking up like 2 meters above it. I have no idea what the back of the house looked like. Back of the pub looked like. So I just had a bit of a guess. I know it needed windows. So on the actual picture, they actually have some steps in the building that go up. But after trying it, which you'll see in a minute, I decided to not do this because you can't do split levels in The Sims. You know, I'd love to be able to have the half levels like you used to have in 3, so you could just have that little lift up, but it's not something that can happen. I didn't have the space lengthwise to actually make it work properly, so I just decided we'll ditch that, we'll just adapt it for what is available. So I've gone with a stone floor to start with because it has like a stone area, and oftentimes these are around like where the fireplace is, and also it's a really good starting point. I had no idea what it actually looked like, whether it had nice carpet. Most probably horrible carpet. You'll see that it's horrible carpet at some point. And I'm going with these cupboards. So I liked this one because it was that wooden feeling, and it basically looks exactly like a British bar probably would, but there's no matching counters. Not in the right colours anyway, and that's really upset me. So I end up changing my mind and going for some of these because it's got a it's got the bar, it's got your beer pullers. I've forgotten what they're called. I'm doing so well at this. You can't go into a British pub without having real ale and beers on it. Yeah. So this is the pillars, which are by the bar. Quite stereotypical, actually, to have a bar between pillars. The roofs are often quite short. Anyone who's particularly tall will have to shrink or duck. It's not been unknown for my dad, for example, to be able to look at the section above the bar, so you've almost got the bar, a gap, and then a shelving unit, but because of the low ceilings, your face comes face to face with the bar top instead of actually the gap where you can talk to people. But again, not something we can exactly do in this, so we're just working with what's available. One of the things I knew I needed is the bar back. I couldn't remember where they were, and obviously I find them, but I couldn't remember where. They're then too big for the space. And then I can't place them. And the reason for that was I completely forgot the cheat for move objects. So I do eventually change move objects, I think. And I do eventually put it on. I moved everything forwards. I'm trying at the moment to come up with an alternative, which is the countertops, and then build it up to look like I've actually got things on it. So your beer bottles, your just generally everything bar related. But again, you don't actually have that much. There's not like loads of stuff you can stack barrel wise, which is a real shame. Or, you know, large sections of wine. I mean, you could stack the little pack of 3 wines in the hex sort of wine holders on top of each other, but that would take so long, and I just didn't have the patience at this point to be bothering with that sort of rubbish. But at the moment, I'm just having a look, see what I can come up with. I still haven't even remembered that actually it doesn't work, and that I've got move objects, and I haven't actually got it on at all. So there you go, there's the 3 bottles, and it's at this point I'm realising life sucks. And it's just going to take me forever, and I just don't think I can physically put up with it. Oh, I thought I had cut this out so that it wasn't quite so much gap, but obviously not. So that is okay. I've figured it out. I'm struggling with the ups and downs. I'm really terrible at some of these moving items up and down. I'm getting better, but it can be a bit dodgy, is what I would say. So, we're going to... There we go. I finally figured it out. And then it gets awkward because it wants to go on all the counters. I don't like it. And because I've now got that working, I realise it's going to take freaking forever. I don't want to. And I can actually shrink. So, what we're doing is moving them in so they actually look like counters properly. Obviously making sure that they actually marry up. You don't often have gaps between them. It looks quite cluttered. English pubs are quite a cluttered look. You can get ones which are a little bit fancier, but more often than not it's like this. So at this point I had a look at a picture online and noticed they had a dining area which was a bit of a strange shape. It looked like it sort of been plonked on the end and had a weird roof just thrown on top of it. But actually when you look inside you would be able to see the beams of the archway. Now obviously you can't really get rid of your roof, so you can see that in The Sims, so it doesn't quite have the same effect. But I thought actually it would work really well and give off this idea of weird rooms that don't seem to make sense. So this one in particular had an entranceway, and then it looked like it had almost a little hallway, a step up into a slightly higher area, and then you had like sections of wall with little balustrades, which is what I'm currently doing here, and then you had an eating area in it. And I've been to so many pubs which have things like this. It's just insane. You know, it makes literally no sense why you wouldn't just think about knocking down the walls. This is the carpet. I found this. I'm so glad I bought the vampire pack, because this carpet is just so perfect. It looks like something that's been there for 100, 200 years, and no one's actually had the guts to say, it's horrible, please put it away. And don't ever get it back out again. So that's why we went for it. And I just cannot explain quite how perfect it is. It's amazing. It just works. So the pub's starting to look much better now. We've got a fireplace in the corner. Quite often you'll have fireplaces with seating areas around it. I forget that I need a seating area around it up until, well, the end. So I'm currently working on where I'm going to put my bathrooms, because if you've noticed, there's not much space. So one of the things I've found is in pubs you will have men's and women's can end up in two completely different parts of the building. It's not unheard of to have to go outside. You might end up having to go like almost through the kitchen, not actually through the kitchen, but down that sort of way to go find them. You might have to go up some stairs. It might be around like twists and turns of a corridor. So I went with, we're just going to put them upstairs. It seems absolutely ridiculous, but I'll be honest, some of the toilets I've been to in British pubs are absolutely ridiculous, so it's fairly in keeping. And the reason for the other room upstairs is you would normally have that as where the people who own the pub would live. So we can't exactly do that. So as the game, this is originally the Shrieking Llamas area, I thought actually there was a club that had that space, therefore I was going to actually do it as well and give them a spot. And now I'm starting to fill in the tables, so they will be a bit all over the place. There is no real rhyme or reason to them. I was thinking about putting those two tables together and doing that around the building, but that seemed like way too much effort. Forgot that entirely. We're going for chairs. You can end up with nice chairs, ugly chairs, mismatching chairs. You can have... what else do you get? Benches, sitting in windows. That's a really common one, sitting in the windows. With like just a cushion on it and some cushions along the back. You're done. You can end up with actual proper comfy chairs around a table. It's just insane. We've also got these lights, so it's quite a low lighting area. I put these lights in because they seemed the most like they would fit in with this environment. It's all a little bit old, it all looks a little bit sort of outdated, but there'll be signs of modernity in there as well. Bathrooms are sparse. It's not unheard of for a bathroom to be absolutely freezing and you don't really want to go and use it. I've been in plenty of bathrooms where you just walk in, you're like, I'm going to have a wee and I'm going to leave, and that's it. So I went with that look for this because there's not always very much decoration. I'll be honest, if they're clean and you can go straight into them and use them, that's all that matters. So we're putting some curtains up, nice bit of, decoration. And this is when I realised that my curtain choices are low. They want a TV, so I've put that into that room upstairs just so I can fulfil the lot type requirements. And here we're putting in some music. You will find machines so you can put your money in and choose songs. Some places don't allow that. It depends on the sort of pub and the people who own it. So the landlords and the landladies. And the problem I have when I come to building is some people will be able to go in and they'll just design a room and that's it. And they'll go in, they'll finish that room, they'll then move on to the next one. My head is so scatty that I do something and then I'll switch over. So as far as my head's gone, the inside is done. It's not, I will still do things to it, but it's done. So I now need to focus on the outside. So I'm currently trying to put in the flower boxes, which the small ones just weren't the right size based on what it looks like in real life. And it definitely needed some creepers because we get a lot of creepers going up buildings, and this is my way of doing that separation I told you I was trying to do at the beginning with the wall, which I couldn't do because it just would stick out too much. So it's just adding this little bit of greenery of, it's sort of unkempt but not, and it's just such a pretty thing that I think houses can have. I love a bit of ivy on it, that nice bit of greenery. In the actual building, on the back end where you've got the hanging baskets and the windows, between the two windows upstairs, you've actually got the painted on the building's name, so it's known as the Crown. Don't have anything like that, so that was fine. Door, because I thought they probably will need to actually get outside and they need a way out to go to the toilet other than just the front door. That seemed the most convenient. Beer garden, need a beer garden. It's just like standard. Beer gardens are us. A little bit of decoration. You just need some trees, to be fair. It's not... You don't need too much. I mean, it's more in trying to keep it in keeping with the general area than anything else. And I'm having a look to see if I could put anything on that end wall, and it's just not happening. We've got our specials board outside, and this is when I remember I probably need a specials board inside. And you're going to question me if all of that area, so all of those seats, are for eating at, why do I put my special board where I do, which is in this one little corner? Because that is what you do. The first thing you do when you go into a pub is either they'll bring over a little menu with your main one, which is the specials, or alternatively you have to play Hunt the Specials board. Remember what's on the specials board and then decide if you want anything. And you'll end up going one at a time. Nowadays with technology, it's a bit easier because you can go up, you take a picture, and then everyone gets their glasses out and starts having a look to see if they can figure out if they want anything. And so many times you look at the special board and you go through all this faff and actually no one wants anything off it. You just want what was on the standard menu. So, all a bit of a pain, but there you go. So, just putting some things in upstairs. This is when I realised that I hadn't put the chairs. And we needed a nice cushy seating area. So, when it's cold, they put the fire on and people just have a nice relaxing sit down. Oftentimes this is used when, you're busy, it's full up, you're waiting for your table to be free, and they'll say, get a drink from the bar, go take a seat somewhere. And you'll have somewhere like this, just a few nice comfy chairs. Again, all a bit mismatching. Looks like someone's been to a sale and just picked up anything that's old looking and gone with it. We're just getting a tiny little table. The end tables are a little bit big, so in the end I shrink it so that it just fits in that little bit nicer in the area. And there you go. This is the pub. So I thought I'd show you it in the general area so you can see it looks in keeping. I really like this one. It feels like a pub that I've been to so many different times. It's just a bit matchy and completely off the wall. So thank you very much for coming to watch. You can subscribe, that would be awesome. You can also watch me stream on Twitch, which I do various games. I'm on Twitter, Facebook. Leave any comments down below, and I hope you come back to see my next build. Have a great day. Bye bye.